Right.
Please, I can't read. It's on. I just wrote it. City session of January 9th, 2024 is called to order. Donna, can you do a roll call, please?
I will. Councilmember Blush,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman. Here. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Here.
Mayor Nesco.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schmidt.
Here.
Councilmember Stearns. Here. And Councilmember Gilmore.
Here. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
All right, tonight on our study agenda, Public Works Director Jay Harris has Capital Project Manager Aaron Nix has updates for us about capital improvement plans.
Plans.
Yeah.
We got a few plans. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. I'm here with Aaron Nix. He's our capital Public Works Project Manager. And Aaron's a busy guy right now. I'm busy. I think Aaron's busier though. So we're going to go through this brief slideshow of our plans for the year, and existing or older counselors have probably heard some of this before, and then we'll be open for some questions along the way. If something comes up, just chat with us, okay? So recent completed project, yeah, first slide there. So Rockdale Paving got that done last summer, and it was getting pretty rutted. The road surface definitely needed to be reconditioned. So you can see the after down below there. That was used in federal funds. And I don't know if you guys know a lot about government projects, but federal funds is the worst pot of money because there's so many requirements that go along with the federal funds, and the cost of the job wasn't worth the reporting we had to do because it was like $300,000. But by the time we got the design and all the reporting and everything in, we spent a lot of money to go be brought in, but it turned out good. So it's one of those 50-50 projects where it's 50% grant funded, 50% city funded. So it was better than 100% city funded, right? Western Gateway, before and after, most of you folks probably drive that a lot. That was a really successful project. And then C Street landfill, before and then after. Landfill been used in the 30s and closed in the late 80s, I think, something like that.
Well, never technically closed, that's the problem.
We closed it, yeah. But you quit using it. And so that was an interesting project, and that was grant funded from the Department of Ecology, thank goodness, because it was a tremendously expensive job. So we got that, we're in compliance now with the state. That was a great project. But that was one of those that's been hanging around for a while. So then Aaron's doing the odd slides. Aaron.
That's fine. Thank you. Hi, councilors, mayor, appreciate your time here. AMI project is basically. How many connections do we have? 2,900?
3,839 meters.
Got it. So part of this project is we had some old infrastructure, old meters that have been in place. Typically, the registers on those things, the battery life is 10 years. And we have basically elected to go to new metering. The problem with the older meters is they get a little bit less accurate as they get older, as the batteries die off. The other benefit is the new meters themselves, I think, believe they have a 20-year battery life. So we will be saving a lot of money. The other benefit, and you can look at this two ways, I guess, as the water utility. If there's better accuracy, it's going to help us as far as revenues and expensive credit. So what people see the tendency, and we're not alone, other jurisdictions experience this when they do a massive transfer like this, sometimes revenues bump up a little bit, just because they're better metered. Our intent is we've purchased all of the meters. What we'd like to do is we purchase meters, boxes, all the elements that we need to do a complete swap out. We just purchased the last 400 or so units themselves. Now we're about ready to go to bid to have a contractor come in and do a lot of the work for us as far as doing those.
As much as our remaining budget will allow, the parts on this project were expensive. Been talking to council a couple of years about this project. Because of the Houston instrument chip shortage, we couldn't get the transmitters or meters. They're just coming online. Census is a global company. And was it Texas Instruments? I say it's Texas Instruments. Yes, that's Houston maybe, right? I was close. Anyways, so we are getting the rest of the transmitters. So we'll have a complete package. It's all down at our yard for a contractor to come install, or hopefully get most of them done for all that. The city has self-performed some meter installs already. We have 400 or 500 done now. We're giving you folks an update, and so we've been into it. It's hard with our maintenance guys. They're reading meters. They're mowing grass during the summer. They're doing all sorts of things, and now you got to go try to swap out 20 meters in 1 week. And it's just tough getting that all done. So it's going to be good to get a contractor out to do that. And so the system though too is you're going to talk about what the system is going to do, the drive-by and AMR.
So currently, the way that we are doing. Yep.
We're correct, lifting every lid.
That means sending an individual out there to read every single individual meter. The benefit with this, and there will be another component to this project, once we get the new meters in. Installation of an antenna on the high point here in the city with the intent, and this is really exciting for us. Most utilities are at that level already, the ability to monitor water flow online via phone lines. So that's the other benefit with that is traditionally, if you're doing, you're just eyeballing and reading things, the software actually provides the benefit in the sense that it will tell you if there's a potential leak that's going on, if they see a significant increase. The benefit with this product, as well as what we're is that we'll be able to see it real time, as opposed to typically they come back, they report, they got to go through all the motions, and then get back. So it's really going to help our citizens too as well. So.
So it will note if an account notices water's running in the middle of the night. All the time, every night, that's a toilet leaking, right? One of those, a lot of houses have them. That adds up to a lot of water every year. And so a lot of times the meters are gonna be more accurate and read better and read accurately. The meters right now are reading a little lower. And but we're going to be getting to the customers and talking to them about leaks and that sort of thing. And so in the end, consumption will probably drop a little bit, because of the better leak detection and all that. And so a person, if they have a high water bill, this is a year or so out, people go online and look at their usage. We also, with the AMR or the fixed base antenna, if a person needs a reading, the utility console can sit out, it takes a couple minutes to get it back. But we don't have to send somebody. Right now, they call them on the radio up there, they drop what they're doing, go get the reading, call them back on the radio. And so it's going to improve customer service immensely. But phase one is just drive-by. So we're lifting the lids right now. We're have the handhelds, and with the 500 we have in already, we're already doing drive-by and picking up those readings. And then the next step would be getting the antenna up on the reservoir and then go to the fixed base read. And then if for some reason we have antenna problems in the future or a control problem here, we still have the option to drive by still, right? So we'll have, and then we have the option to open them all again too. So we'll have multiple ways to read people's meters.
So instead of individually going and reading, all they need to do is drive by. And the computer picks it up, it's sending out a reading, and then it's a lot easier than going house to house. So
It's, I believe it's 2 weeks or maybe 10 work days for meter reads right now, I believe at water department, and essentially.
Yeah, that's two people
Two people,
generally,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
we're gonna gain an FTE back for the most part, that can go and work on other things, so, so you're spending money to save money. And improving a meter system that is very aged out, right?
This was budgeted a couple of years ago, like at 1.8 million, right? And wasn't there more grant funds than 800,000? I thought there was more.
No, that was our money that was put into.
We self-funded and then we added ARPA to it.
But it was it's $1.8 million project and.
Yep.
Yep. And already been approved, and so this is.
Yeah, sorry, I guess we didn't lead with that. Again, this is a project that was budgeted. The purchases have been, made, if you will. We haven't seen all the product.
It's supposed to be shipped.
Eventually, so it's shipping, so this is kind of in process.
Yeah.
Since it's something that we're asking for direction or decision on, or will be coming to you later for direction. This is just information for us, just fill you in on the project itself, give you an update. Like, well, no, what's going on, and maybe this is an update incrementally as we move along in the process. Particularly, you'll see the throughout the bid as well.
which we hope to do and at least go out and get within the next.
This is a good time to get out to bid.
Complete the installs.
Correct.
Hopefully, as budget allows, that we don't have to eliminate part of the schedule or something. It all depends on the bidding climate. That there are vendors that do this, but they're not local, unfortunately. Typically, this is sort of a specialty, and so they fly crews in, they put them in motel rooms. These guys, they like to turn a meter over in 20 minutes, if you can believe it, box and
We've
everything.
lost some buying power, right, because this was budgeted a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, essentially, probably 20, was it budgeted 25 for the first time?
22,
22.
it's an aging project.
Also, about buying power, we do have a city in Western Washington recently go through this process, correct? So
Wouldn't know.
wood bill, so we may get some more accurate, figures and costs on what, what the actual installation costs are.
In addition, I did talk to Ferguson, who is our supplier for that type of equipment. And they gave me a contact of a gentleman from HDR Engineering that's done 2 or 3 of them recently. What I'm doing is I'm gonna kind of let him look at our cost estimate and see, are we close? What do you think?
We're doing a budget check right now to make sure, are we doing the whole schedule, or do we have to take a piece out and our guys go do it? Do we request more budget for the project? We're sort of in that realm right now, because costs have gone up since our preliminary estimates, unfortunately.
Has there been any consideration about bundling this in with other capital projects? Just that are in similar geographic area, if we're gonna be paving, let's say, like Olympic Highway, and we just take the frontage roads and bundle them into that project to get these meters installed, is there?
You could, unfortunately, this particular project, you're over the whole city, right? You're touching everywhere in the city, but we have been putting in new meters on projects when we're in a project. Yeah, like Park Street, for example, that sort of thing.
Okay.
That we went through and picked up a lot of those.
And any new installation or changing out of meters that may have failed or being.
Okay.
They're all new meters.
Everything from here on out.
No more brass meters, we're done with those,
Okay,
So what do you do with the old ones?
unfortunately. There's not nobody's using these brass meters anymore.
Is there anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're being stockpiled, and there's enough bulk that, we can put out to bid on those. So they receive some return on that. But, yeah.
What area do the new ones go in at? Are they different spots or kind of isolated
I
to?
think the map
That's a
actually.
big-
Kinda hard to see.
Yeah,
The key is really small.
They jump around
Oh.
based on.
I believe it's the green,
Yeah.
okay.
so it was about 450.
Oh, the ones that we did.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, they focus kind of on the downtown, but there are some other outlining, and as Jay mentioned, that for, I think, other projects, we try to integrate that into.
So, slide 4. So, well, one, the high school tank, the project went out to bid, council awarded, the bid. We had a pre-construction conference today. And worked with Rocklands to go over their schedule. So if you look at the map on the left, we're starting all the way up at well one. And we have to dig in a pipe from well one to Shelton Springs. And we're replacing the steel line in there right now with ductile iron. And then from Shelton Springs, there's a carrier pipe that's approximately 20 to 24 inches in diameter, varies. It's a gravity water line right now. We're using that as a carrier for the HDPE pipe. So we're fusing a 12-inch HDPE pipe together. It's going to be one big long linear pipe, and they're pulling it through this carrier from Shelton Springs, which is near the top there, all the way down to the high school
The
reservoir.
intersection of K and 13th Street, Shelton Springs.
So anyways, tremendous amount of pipe work. This project has been in the capital improvement plan since the 2010 comprehensive plan. And the benefits is we get a pressurized main going from well one all the way down to the high school reservoir. Whereas right now it's a gravity line and it's an old gravity line. So it will, our whole system will be pressurized then, which is a really good news. So we did get grant funding from the State Department of Commerce, $2,050,000. We've also put in water rate funds towards the project. And then at well one, we're doing some upgrades to the fencing and that sort of thing there. At Shelton Springs, we're doing some different valving and various work there. We're also putting in a connection because there's actual a swimming pool in that building on water, and we're putting in a connection there. That's our emergency water source. And it needed, the goal is to put water in there also.
Or reservoir, maybe not swimming pool, a reservoir, right?
It's,
Yeah,
well, when you walk in there, it looks like sort of a swimming pool when you walk in there.
Yeah.
But it is a reservoir with just a dirt bottom on it. And I could take anybody there if you guys want to go, especially as the project's underway. We need to do a field trip. This is like a once in a lifetime sort of project. And then down the high school reservoir, that pipe, if you look at that picture on the right there, that pipe's getting replaced. We're gonna, when they're done and new fencing around the reservoir, it's gonna extend out a little larger. To just enclose some areas where we're having some camping issues and things that we just need to enclose the water reservoir a little bit better. And then the paint that's on there right now, the goal is by the end of the summer is to clean the site up so it's a little more presentable. So on that, and our city staff are actually going to clean the reservoir, probably put some paint down on the bottom of it. The whole reservoir does need to be recoated in the coming years. I have a reservoir options setting we're working on. This reservoir is 60s vintage. I need to, it inspected fine. We inspected it fine this year, minimal rust. It isn't tied down seismically though, and it is showing its age. And eventually, these smaller reservoirs probably need to be taken offline because the painting cost of that is probably a quarter of the cost of a new reservoir, especially the interior coatings. And so you've got to start looking at a life cycle analysis. And is it worth recoating this thing? Because they're aging quicker and quicker and quicker because they're getting rustier and rustier. And is it really worth the interval? So we're going to be looking at that because it is in the 6-year CIP to be recoated inside and out. We're just going to clean it up this year. But we need to talk a little more about the size of this reservoir, the age of this reservoir, and we're better off putting in a brand new larger reservoir in other areas and taking some of these smaller ones that aren't seismic, and the O&M costs are increasing on them significantly.
I thought that was our goal to build bigger reservoirs and get rid of all the small ones already.
As,
comprehensive plan.
as money allows, right, that
Well, I mean, we need to build one fairly the next 3 years on Angleside, correct? I mean,
Well,
We
we're
had-
working on that, yeah.
Working on it. Actually, it's smoking news
Nice
today.
segue.
Yeah, it's a nice segue, so jump on in.
So, keeping in mind this notion of our reservoirs and what we need to look for and how we might, as I mentioned, I think to the council, and I think you all were on at the last meeting. We do have some pressures, some fire flow issues, some storage deficiencies in our angle side pressure zone, and that's identified the colored area through there. We do have, this particular project of which we were awarded about, $2 million, if I recall correctly. The intent here is, what we want to do is we have a booster pump station, and it's not shown very well here, guys. There's an upper angle side booster pump station that's right about here, and then there is another booster pump station, we call that the lower booster pump
Yes, all
station.
the way down, it says pump station there, all the way at the top of the screen. It's down in the maintenance yard, so we pump water up to the Angleside Reservoir right now. And there's actually another booster pump station that's been constructed next to the Angleside Reservoir that is offline right now. And the goal is to bring that online to increase the storage. What happened is the houses were built around the reservoir and they're not far enough down the hill, so you can't drain all the water down the reservoir, or else you run out of water pressure in the homes. And I think I've explained this a couple times. So the pump station up there will come online and keep everyone's pressures constant. The reservoir will still draw down. And then when the demand is done, the lower station will kick back on and fill the reservoir back up again. And that gives us, it picks up our deficiency in the reservoir, and it also gives us about 700 more housing, single family housing units in that zone before we have to go build a new tank.
The zone's large though, if you see the area in blue from.
That's existing,
That's existing, yeah.
right, so anything new.
It's one pressure zone, covers the entire south side of town, basically. So from
That will probably change.
Very likely, the wastewater treatment plant down on Fairmont is in this zone. Well, this zone goes from 350s in elevation all the way down to near sea level. And so it's likely that the downtown zone, which you see on the map there, which is served by the high school tank, is going to extend out and get over to some of the lower areas of the city and proportion our zones out a little better. Because you have really low pressure at the top, really high pressure down the bottom, right?
So the component, at least for this particular project with the $2 million. Our intent here is basically, we're gonna be doing a couple piping projects. We have some old AC line that's undersized that we need to upsize. That's the help with pressures. In addition, that lower booster pump station, we're probably gonna be required to put in some new pumps in there to get better pressures in there, as well as our systems talk via, and you know the acronym better than me, the SCADA system, which basically is, it's talking to itself and it helps us manage this water system. We need to, in essence, do some upgrades to that SCADA system, as well as I'm gonna try to explain variable frequency drives. What they are basically it's something that attaches onto the well or the pumping station. And it is basically its own brain, and it determines how to lower and when to rise up pressures. And it's just a better way to manage your system. Currently, we don't have those in there. So that's the intent, at least with this $2 million. It's gonna be new pumps, some new larger pipe, some SCADA work, as well as probably some computer component upgrades to the system, with the intent that it's gonna help us in all those areas identified before. The other thing I think is important for the council to know is that DOH, and that's our regulator, Department of Health, is tracking this issue too. And they talk to us about this. So it's important that you're aware of that. Doesn't mean we're in trouble, just means that we got some things that we need to work on, and that's what we're doing.
well, that's why I think we should probably talk about that new tank. Because it's 3-year build, you said.
Yeah, so in the water rate study, new counselors weren't involved with that, existing council or. Should I only older counselors or other counselors were involved in the rate study and water rates are going up. They included a $4.5 million loan for a new reservoir up there. The goal is, and it's slated to begin loan funding or do a loan application this coming fall. And we have some of the developments aren't happening quite yet. That they've fallen offline, they're not gonna move forward. And I'm gonna be talking to the city manager more about when do we need to secure the loan and then spend 3 years on the project.
So we have some study going on.
Yes.
Reservoir studies occurring, we commission that work, so we'll have more information on exactly what kind of size that looks like. How the piping is laid out, how that affects different pressure zones, how you can connect pressure zones. I think as we talked about previously and on the tour, new council members, we talked about the upper mountain pressure zone all the way out by the public workshop and how that can trickle all the way down. Sometimes to the south side, to the Angel side pressure zone. You know, right, getting the right connections in place, so this study will develop how to best tie some zones together, where maybe reservoirs are needed, right?
And the timing,
Needs are needed.
the timing and the cost, because the sizes, so we're waiting for that reservoir option study, which will help. Moving forward, then we also have like legislative requests out for the reservoir, it's going out. For that, so we'll see how that all goes. Angle site is one of our #1 zones.
It's really important for strategic where these matters, right? Or else we end up with what? 400,000 gallon tanks
Yes.
scattered throughout the city. And we're not looking at the big picture of the entire city. To provide these services and this utility in the same manner. If we piecemeal these things out as that. Without looking at the entirety of the system, we'll end up with infrastructure like this spread out the city. It's becomes more expensive to manage long term. It might not be earnings long term as well. So it's really important to look at this as a whole.
And this tank isn't seismic either. We have one seismic tank in the city, that's Upper Mountain View. And the goal is to try to make sure the tanks will make it through a seismic event, larger seismic event, right?
So you guys will see the grant acceptance at your next meeting as an action item. So.
Yeah. I just don't want to see every time we're ready to grow, we've got people interested in Shelton, and then we're told by DOH or ecology, oh, sorry, you can't do that, your sewer treatment plant's not good enough, oh, your water's not good enough, oh, your storage is not good enough. So I want to make sure that when they're ready to come, that we're ready for them to build.
It's a priority of staff. We talk about this every,
Yeah,
every 10 minutes, it seems like, within the hallways, in the offices, Jay's coming in, Eric's coming in, going back, and we're talking about our water system issues on an ongoing basis. It's the top of our list, it's top of our priorities, it's higher than wastewater needs right now, right?
Or street needs.
Yeah, exactly, street needs, because you're right, this is kind of linchpin, it's the key to adding any more development.
This is woes of a small city that's growing to a mid-sized city, right? The city is transitioning, to something a little larger.
Yeah.
And anyways, it's important that we keep up with these capital projects. That's why that 6-year capital plan that we started developing, we do it for streets, sewer, water, storm, is so important. At least get the projects on there and get the costs in there, then figure out how we're gonna fund them, right? So, yep. So you guys ready for Safe Routes to School? Slide number 6. So we have 3 intersections in the Safe Routes to School project. One is up at the high school. We're gonna put a little island and a crosswalk, improve the crosswalk and move it over to the Huff and Puff parking, the trail parking lot over there. Another one is down, there's gonna be a sidewalk down 9th Street. And coming all the way down to 9th and Franklin, and a bunch of improvements there, and a flashing beacon crosswalk there at Evergreen Elementary. And then if you go down the street a little bit towards Safeway, at 7th and Franklin down there, that whole intersection is gonna get improved crosswalks, bulb outs, and make it a lot safer. So we got a grant from the state for $770,000. We have spent about on design, 120,000, maybe 130,000. So the remaining is going to construction. We're out for bids right now for the project. And we're hopeful that the engineer's estimate is a little on the high side. Again, the construction environment varies. This is a good time of year to be bidding. We're hopeful that we're a little lower than the engineer's estimate. We like to walk in with a construction contract. We have the money to pay for the construction part of it. Any additional services from the design company, we have to pay our staff some money too. That's our inspectors. They come out of the project fund also. Then we like a 10% contingency on top of the project when you walk in the door. It's been designed, been to bid. There's unknowns out there. One of the unknowns is Shelton Creek. I don't know if you guys know, but right along Safeway in the picture there, right under the Safeway sign is the creek. It's the sidewalk cover also right there. And you can't do a lot of work right there because you have this creek and this concrete flume with a top on it. Well, we're trying to put an ADA ramp in there and replace the sidewalk and stuff, right? So things like that, would kind of get you a little bit sometimes, but that's why you want the 10% contingency. So bids open on the 18th. And then we'll be compiling them, and then also if we need more money, we can talk to the state, see what they have to say, because this was state award. They're seeing a lot of this right now too. We had a great conversation with them today, and so more to come. I know we're looking at trying to award this project right away and get these people going, and so it's on the council calendar for the next meeting, isn't it? Correct. Yeah,
On the 6th.
it's on February 6th, okay. We'll have a lot more to come at that meeting for this project. Any questions?
Page 7, please. This is actually a combination, you guys, of 2 grants. It's a two-phase project, and I think she kind of separated it into 2. Let's start on the left-hand side. We basically got about a direct appropriation from the legislature for about $3.2 million. To basically, we need to upgrade the headworks to increase the capacity and the size of the screens to accommodate future higher flows of the plant. So this is other people's money. This is an opportunity for us to improve the headworks there. In addition, and this project is actually going to go first, the project on the right was another ARPA funded project for us. This is actually going to increase the size of the amount of water that we can actually store. Currently, we're at 30 to 40,000 gallons at this point. This project will add a $500,000 or 500,000 gallon tank to that, with the caveat, you guys, that as the demand increases for that reclaimed water, we're going to have the ability to expand and sell more of it. So this really is kind of a future hopeful. I will tell you, in talking in my brief times with the tribes, this is something and I've talked to their some of their representatives, this is something they very much advocate for. Reason being is we're putting water back into the system. There's concerns with regard to flows in the main creek downtown as well as the others. So they have been very supportive of that. I think what we're going to see here spurt off of this is some additional monies. I don't know how familiar you're all with our actual facility. Currently, we sell some of that water to the prison as well as the Washington State Patrol. Sometimes we have an abundance of water. We actually have a spray area in which we basically have above ground injectors that basically inject the water, hits the ground and infiltrates back in. One of the future projects that we are looking at is looking at a way to actually inject it into the ground as opposed to, as you just spew out the air.
Yeah, basically.
It's
Yeah.
rapid transpiration. You're not getting a lot of water back into the ground.
50% of it's probably lost.
The intent is to get it back into the ground. So the tribe, and I've already talked to their biologists, they are willing to write a letter of support to help us get more grant money for that.
The third spray field is in the headwaters of Phillipsboro Creek, so that's the location.
It's another thing we've talked about, but that's not like a 20 or 30-year plan is to put injection wells in, correct, and get rid of putting anything out in the bay.
I will tell you,
That's kind of separate from this, right?
That's
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
because this is. our
Same water
satellite
though, right?
plan.
Satellite.
But this sewer that's cleaned and
Same process, yeah,
Same process, but yeah.
Yeah.
not the expansion of the
And to
main.
be clear, 500,000 gallons of reclaimed water is an economic driver for industrial use, right? It's much cheaper than potable water for cooling or processing purposes. If you have the ability to provide that amount of water and reclaimed water in one area of our community, it's much more enticing for some of those industrial developers to come in and those are jobs.
You want larger users, though, small users, it's tough to get them to pipe economically. And like residential, single family homes, you know, where you put in a reclaimed service for every one of them. Some cities have done that, and it's very difficult.
You're in the process of, reconstructing the cannabis grow that burned, had no fire suppression previous, and that's right on the port property, and that's a perfect prime example that could have suppression. It could be non-potable suppression and at 3 cent, whatever they.
Yeah,
with the port there too, that's
Yeah.
huge for us. And I know Brent, I know you guys talked to them about potential uses in the future, and that could really be a driver for us, you guys.
Is there a way, I don't wanna get down policy on this too much, but I mean, for certain industrial, I mean, is there vertical standards about using this as opposed to clean drinking water for fire suppression?
that's a requirement.
Yeah, or an incentive to do it or something like that.
I think it's cost driven because the reclaim rate is so low.
Yeah.
Right, that it's more of a cost benefit for the development. For sprinkler systems, you might not see it as much because they don't really use any water. They sit there.
Yeah.
Hopefully they sit there 100% of the time, right? But I've seen it really for a big sports field complex. I've really seen that for the summer use, industrial processing big, where they need big
You're
processing.
flooding the track at State Patrol Academy, right? They're just putting water on the ground to drive through it. Perfect use for that.
Yeah.
They're flushing toilets, the correction center, things, right? They're recycling that water. and flushing.
Any irrigate.
Irrigate. Absolutely, those are uses. If there's any big industrial use that typically requires cooling or something like that, or processing of the
Cool, it's
water.
another one.
The water is used to process something in good industrial environment. Let's get a little more about how.
Going back to your
Set up
third or fourth
grants.
slide about,
Yeah.
The other challenges that come up with, we can't build houses because of the clean drinking water aspect, but. We're
California just passed a law allowing you to drink reclaimed water, to put it back into the system again. Ultra pure water though, right? There's high.
Osmosis, everything.
We're near that. I mean,
Yeah.
you should be able to drink the water out of this plant and be safe. It's chlorinated, the pathogens are. I'm not kidding you.
we had a city manager that drank like 4 levels of it. It was like dark and a little lighter, a little lighter, a little lighter.
Mayor, you made a very important statement that I want to make sure that you're aware of, because this is gonna have a policy decision for you guys. This is a hot area. Having worked in very urbanized areas, they ultimately talk about is purple pipe. getting it in the ground. So I just want you to be aware of it, and my reasoning for saying that to you is, look, we've already got $5 million grant fund. This is a hot issue. It wouldn't surprise me if we got another couple million to go do the injection system within 5 years. It would not surprise me.
If you gain a bunch more water into the ground, it's
Absolutely.
evaporating right now, so it's like, I think it's a good project. You prompted a question though, we didn't answer, so the main plant, right now, we're discharging into Oakland Bay. We want to divert with the northerly diversion pump station up here on the hill, send a bunch more water up to the membrane plant that's currently going to the main plant down here. Treat it and put it back in for uses and then also into Goldsboro Creek. So we're gonna cut the flows of the main plant. But I mean, you're right, 20 years from now, The next major upgrade of the main plan is to put in reverse osmosis filtration. Take that water, and it doesn't go to the bay anymore, it gets pumped up into Mill Creek or somewhere else, right? So I mean, long term, the main plant should go offline also.
Question, the reclaimed water, why can't that be used for the fire hydrants? Why can't we get piped to it? Because, I mean, you said you're spilling water out at 30 or 40,000 gallons, when you have 500,000 gallons, you're gonna have a whole lot more water to spill out. So why don't we,
If there's readily available, yeah.
I meant our fire hydrants throughout the city,
Understood.
yeah.
We just need to put it in.
The infrastructure.
Yeah.
You have double
Pipe has to be in.
Yeah.
double piping.
And our existing fire hydrants are connected to our potable water system, and you can't cross contaminate those, so it takes.
Unless you're in California. I don't know, if that's not a true statement.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of rules to this, right? They didn't do this lightly, there's a lot of things.
So typically it happens in newly
That's-
developed
that's-
areas, right?
That's actually what's happening.
Yeah.
We're recharging the water aquifers, we're drinking we're drinking the sewage water, right? We're ultimately drinking that. On however many years it takes, so.
Yeah, the conveyance time from our spray field to Goldsboro Creek has been estimated to be 6 months. Yeah, long period of time.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised, I figured it'd be a month or two, something like
And
that.
how deep are roughly, you know?
Our wells? 700 is.
Yeah,
water
they're
line,
deep.
right?
Pretty deep.
And our partners, Tribal Energies have hydrologists and geologists that have been working on this issue for quite some time, so it's nice to have that information available to us, so they can help us.
Yeah, if they didn't do that conveyance study, I would have never known that number,
Yeah.
because they wanted to evaluate our spray field. And what is it actually doing to Goldsboro Creek? And there's a significant benefit even today, getting more water up there will help the base flows of Goldsboro Creek during the summer months primarily, right?
So when we hear the argument about why can't it be well and septic. Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't recharge, it doesn't.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any more questions about that particular project?
So slide 8. So Wallace Nealon at Shelton Springs, that intersection, we were awarded in 2019-18, $650,000 to design some upgrades to the intersection. One of the upgrades was a roundabout. We have a preliminary design on that. Another competing option to that is the potential of upgrading the signal, put in some additional right turn lanes, putting in left turn permissives. I don't know if you guys know, those are those flashing yellows, right? That if there's no one coming and you're in the left turn lane, it turns on so you can go. We've had a meeting with the state today to talk about the intersection, new roundabout there, $4 million and up maybe, you know, they're all pretty expensive. The dude's turn lane improvements.
That's without any property acquisition.
That's correct, that's correct, that's just the.
Yeah.
That should be big enough over there, isn't
They're
it? Big, pretty big area over there.
Yeah.
Just so that the people that drive that intersection, my understanding is it fails during school times, heavy peak times for
Peak only.
schools.
Yeah.
But other than that, it seems to operate okay. So that's at 2:30, 2 o'clock to maybe 3:30, and then in the morning, you know, so anyways, we have a traffic engineer, SCJ Alliance is looking at the intersection. They're doing some updated traffic counts. And we're getting a memorandum from them to evaluate the signalization of the intersection. What is it over a 40-year period? What's the level of service in 40 years compared to a roundabout? And are they similar? Because we know the signal is a quarter of the cost. And so anyways, part of the issue is if we continue forward with the roundabout, securing grant funding for that is very difficult. Because of the level of service that is operating at right now. We don't have a traffic jam for hours on end, you know, where people are waiting. And so those type of intersections are hard to fund if they're not failed 100%.
State transportation budget, I mean, we heard about it this session. it would be fire transportation projects essentially, so much more competitive. Once we see those types of things in the future.
So the reality and what we as staff are trying to determine here, you guys, is, we could go down the pathway of utilizing that money to get the design work done for those, not just that intersection, but another one. I went back and reread the initial report that was done, and candidly, even if we did a signal upgrade, at least their projections in 2040 show that intersection not broken, still meets our level of service. You ask, what is our level of service? The council's established a level of service D, which is, it's a level of service. I've been in this, I know you've been in this, a lot of folks are at C, D's a fine opportunity. The reality is that if we do this signalization project in 2040, we won't have a broken intersection, meaning it will continue to function. So we really need to ask ourselves, we think we can do something, and we may need a little bit of money to upgrade the signal, but instead of utilizing that money for some projects that we just put on a shelf until we get money to fund them, why not utilize it to actually do some improvements on the signal and improve that? The other thing that's important is, as we were looking through the study, I think they needed to kind of do a little bit more analysis, which they're going to do. They're actually gonna go out between the 7 and 9 AM periods and the 1:30 to about 4:30 periods to really get a feel for what it's like. Brooke Kiltz, she takes her kid continuously. She said, "It's broken, Aaron, it's broken. It won't work every day." And I get it. I absolutely get it. So this is kind of a strategy policy kind of thinking, at least the thought process is, why not utilize? We don't want to turn money back. But kind of where we're at right now, we're kind of at a decision point. Do we go down the route, or do we send this money and upgrade? It does seem to make the most economical sense since we have it to maybe try this piece, but that's another discussion.
It's a policy decision, council.
I mean, I'm all for putting 2 left turn signals up there and.
Yeah.
Same time, and that would solve the 7 o'clock and then 2 and 3 o'clock problem right there.
This afternoon from Olympic College to the entrance of the high school and then back out to Wallace Nealand again, at Oakland Bay Junior High, 28 minutes is what it took me. I mean, that's like, what, a mile?
Over the left turn lane and 10 cars would go at a time, it'd be like 3 minutes probably.
Yep.
But we can't go about talking about that road without me bringing up my
I-
Olympic Junior High and that mess right there where kids are dodging cars. And obviously at Mountain View, there's no crosswalk on K Street. So,
There is some good news, you guys. They are opening another round. We just heard Safe Routes to Schools. Doing the exact same thing. Hopefully what you're seeing, well, the previous project, we'll be able to do that in those other areas.
Thinking bigger on this. So from 101 to Highway 3 down Wallace to Johns Prairie. I mean, that's gonna be, why aren't we looking at? Why aren't we looking at adding capacity as that grows? Because we're
Interconnect signal.
annexing out towards, potentially PUD3, there's gonna be. More freight traffic heading towards 101, keeping 2 lanes, it dies there at Shelton Springs, goes a single lane, why aren't we designing outward? Acquiring the right of way now, and then bundling this with Johns Prairie and 13th and going after, it's like 3 in a row, right? 3 roundabouts in a row. And go for a larger project and go for Fed dollars as opposed to state dollars. Go for 25 million and get 3 roundabouts from 101.
The state about that though, and where they perform today, there's other people with failed intersections that are coming in and getting them out.
Not bad.
We don't
Score,
we don't score well.
Yeah, and so that's the predicament now that we're in. So with the loss and repeat, we're not pouring out, right?
Yeah.
But we're not bringing in enough revenue.
Yeah.
And
Mayor brought up the crosswalk there. Nobody's been hit, there hasn't been enough accidents reported, so it doesn't score.
that's why we have to sell.
Funding strategy, right? Somebody need to get hit in a crosswalk.
Because that was in the local road safety plan application. It wasn't one of them that was funded.
Volunteer.
Yeah. So what you could say about signals
I'll pay for
is
flash.
queuing up cars, you got me going down a whole different track.
Yeah,
That you could take traffic through signals during peak hours and march them on through signals. And then you have open gaps for people to drive in. Roundabouts are indiscriminate when traffic hits them. It lets it all through, then there's a little gap. You don't know, signals do a little better job, especially if they have a lot of driveways and non-signalized access points.
I guess, you know, if you're gonna go down this route and spend the cash, you're gonna upgrade one signal that's not connected to the other two.
Right.
Right, so you're gonna tune from signal to signal to signal. We have the lineup on 101 that comes on during lunch and end of day. People aren't gonna see, I don't think, right, they're not gonna feel an improvement, you know, we're gonna upgrade the old signal controller and that's expensive and all that, but. The traveling public isn't gonna see an improvement necessarily, and those left turns, that's not the conflict in the morning, it's the through traffic, you know what I mean, so you're still gonna stack up through traffic. So I guess I'm coming back to it is looking at the design differently. I'm with you, it's hard to carve the money, you're not wrong, we're just in a tough spot.
The other thing that we've been at least talking about is the potential of doing interconnects as well.
There you go.
That would add a lot more capacity. Basically, what an interconnect, you guys, is basically all the signals are talking to each other. So if there's impact at one, it basically green while they're going through and just gets cars through fast.
They have to be compatible though, now.
Agreed. And distance
Which
between
we,
is important.
but we don't know if the other signals are compatible yet.
So we don't know the last,
We don't know, and
so we'd be opening up that can of worms.
they're probably AT2.
Yeah.
But Wallace. Let me tell you, just
Yeah, that's,
still watch that,
it's not a sweet.
where. And then it's a four-way stop of the 13 Wallace Jones Ferry.
Yeah, and I just think it, you know, you have a lot of conflict points in a signalized intersection. That goes to,
Yeah.
A roundabout, so. And if it's gonna be truck traffic and school buses. Limiting conflict points. Decrease that as much as you
So
can.
roundabouts are more expensive. One of the other benefits is pedestrian traffic. You crossing at the inward and outward bound lanes. You see the person standing there, you know, as you navigate going across the roundabout. So they are safer. There's that cost benefit thing. So more to come on this. So we have another analysis called another memorandum. We'll be coming back to share with you guys the findings.
Page 8.
Oh, you're on.
9.
Nine.
Long day. So this is a compliments to our city manager. He actually is the one that applied for these grant funds a while back. And one of the biggest issues we have here at the Civic Center is safe ingress egress for our officers out of this building into their parked vehicles over here. There are some site problems with regard to potential of somebody hiding behind a door and without a camera to see, it's problematic. So we actually have a meeting on Thursday. We're gonna utilize Williams Architecture. They're gonna help us get this put together. It leads to just a basic site plan very inexpensively. The intent here is that we're gonna place a wrought iron fence along that road, which has been vacated. In essence, it's not gonna be used for the public. It's gonna be our own private parking area. With the intent that we're gonna have this wrought iron fence as well as gates on each end. In addition, at least what's being discussed is the potential to have sensors in the ground. So once the officer leaves, it triggers that and the gate automatically opens so they can get out of here. Conversely, the other way, a way to get in quickly so that they can get back in and lock it back up and secure it. In addition to the fencing, we're gonna Luke Manning, our facilities person, did a lot of work of trying to standardize citywide safety improvements associated with the city. And what I'm talking about is ingress egress through doors, a card reader system potentially, as well as a new camera system. And cameras at our well points and those things really where you need to have them to protect our infrastructure. So There's going to be a camera upgrade and door opening upgrades. As part of this project, Mark did secure an additional 200,000 plus to do the rest of the city. So this is kind of the first phase. But the importance of the work that Luke did is he basically standardized everything so that everything will have it at all of our, similar at all of our same facilities, everything will be interchangeable. Some of the bigger questions that we as staff are gonna have to start asking ourselves is who's gonna monitor it and those types of things. But this is gonna be, I think, a really good project. Our intent, you guys, is to have this done June. So something will be in place. That's about-
For the new council members, we actually budgeted for car blocks in the city, but we stole money to replace the fire alarm system at the library. Cause they were having to do 24-hour a day
Firewall.
fire watch because the alarm
15
system.
minutes into one.
Yeah.
No more
So-
physical keys.
So since we,
Correct, yeah. Deputy Mayor mentioned it, we're giving the keys and key
Yeah,
control is a
yeah.
pain.
yeah,
So we issue you all keys, right? We have 2 keys to get in this building. I'm lucky enough, I have 1. But we don't let master key everybody, so that way we can monitor who's coming and going. If there's cameras, we have the ability to place cameras in the entrances to see if somebody's piggybacking in one place. We can lock somebody out with a push of a button if they lose their car key, or for some reason. We don't want them to access the facility anymore, they're a former employee, they didn't turn their car key. We have much more control with that.
did we budget that again for this year?
But that's the direct appropriation, so.
No, for all the locks.
That's
Oh, that's in there too?
Another appropriation,
Oh.
that's 250,000.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna focus on the first responders, critical services, court, police, NACOM area first, and then our critical facilities, our wells. Our pump stations, our treatment plants, in those areas first and foremost, we'll get infrastructure put in place and we'll expand from there, because what we're looking at is an expandable system, right? You can just buy the components as needed, whatever doors, whatever cameras, but you'll have the software, it's cloud storage, it can be monitored, it can't be monitored. Recording, everything you can do on your phone now, but much more dynamic, there's. Things like.
Lock and unlock doors remotely, if you need to let somebody in, let somebody out, it's just the right, the right
Exactly.
answer, please,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so we will target the critical infrastructure and first responders first. If there's money left over, we'll trickle that down into our other facilities, and then as needed, we'll budget accordingly to spread this system throughout the city.
The other thing I neglected to mention is better lighting out there. You guys, as counselors, it's about these bright lights and getting complaints from, we intend to shield it, to direct it directly down specifically in the parking area. So we don't believe that's gonna be an issue, but increase the lighting up there, it's spoiled right now, just needs to get better. So
The one thing I will mention, the doors are recessed on that side. So when they open a door, they can't see out into the street unless it's right in front of you. So each side. We put up a camera outside of PD, but again, they have to stop, they have to look at the camera and see if anybody's out there before they exit that door, make sure they're safe. So if we can at least keep people 60, 70 feet away. It doesn't eliminate the entire risk, but it keeps people. And that's the intent.
Taking bets on how long before the gates always open during normal business hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
those
curbs
auto
on.
program gates are a problem, on holidays and that sort of thing, I ran into that.
Yeah.
You're responsible to program this and then, the maintenance yard is a good example, there's a fence with a gate and a lock. Police need to go there in the middle of the night to go fill up their gas, they get out of the car, they unlock the lock, they open it up, they go in there, they drive out, they get out of the car, they relock it, well, the new gate there will have an RFID tag right in the windshield, when it pulls up the gate, will open for them, they can drive in, fill up. And then they'll be able to get back out, it'll open for them. Also, we have plow trucks probably going out this week, same thing, they're out there in the middle of the night. They got a lock, unlock, it's a snowstorm, they're out trying to take care of things, so there's big benefits to these electronic gate controls.
Just make sure you always have manual as an
Yes.
option too.
Right, so
You have to have, it's a man gate,
Push them really hard.
you have to have a man gate somewhere with a padlock or something on it, right? Because if that controller goes down, you gotta open it up and there's ways to get the gate to open, but you have to be able to get into the secured area.
I didn't mention that too, there will be pedestrian gates too, yes.
Yeah.
So, slide 10. This is called other notable upcoming projects. So we're working on a new public works maintenance yard. The yard on Pine Street is a couple acres and there's no room left in there. There's some landscape changes on that perhaps, getting back to you guys in the next month or two. We want some of the topics sort of changed. If you have further questions, give me a call about that. But we'll see what happens with the laydown yard. The local road safety plan projects, that we have Olympic Highway North and I Street. That's by the Urban Outfitters, what's the name? Did I get that right? I Street,
Olympic.
Olympic Highway North and I Street.
Street.
Shelton Outfitters is on Highway South and Bellevue.
So,
There's a sidewalk issue there and some crosswalk things that need to be taken care of. Olympic Highway North and I Street is probably gonna be taken care of as part of the overlay of the grant that we just received, Olympic Highway North. That was some matching funds that went to that project. So the local road safety plan money is going to go help another project that we have that helps on our match. Just so you know, that was 4.5 million, is that on here? 4.2 million. 4.2 million, okay. Anyways, so that project was 4.2 million. We're going to kick it off here probably in the next 6 months, 4 months, something like that. We have a backlog of projects right now we're trying to get out. Anyways, so the local railroad safety plan, Railroad and Third, another one that Railroad and Fourth, from what I understand, had a signal there. Railroad and Third was identified at the local road safety plan, so the pedestrian crossings are somewhat spaced out a little bit on Railroad Avenue. When we get into the preliminary design of that, I'll be talking to you folks about, is it Third, is it Fourth?
Third.
Okay, Third,
Give me
okay,
a
that's one person.
It's right.
But not that, so Olympic Highway North, I talked about access, security and controls, we talked about that. The ADA transition plan, that's all our ramps or no ramps in a lot of location. When we do funding applications, we get points deducted from the state because we don't have a way to transition to get ramps in compliance with state standards. We're working on the pavement condition index citywide. We need to know where we are right now and sort of target future projects, where we're gonna go with additional projects. And we'll be able to identify our yearly expenditures on pavement preservation. Are we spending enough money to keep going on it? We have some railroad track crossing removals. That's at Highway 3. It's the first one. Then you come up to 7th and they have another one at Holborn. And this is the old Simpson rail line. We got some federal grant funds for that. We're gonna be downtown working on the street tree and sidewalk replacements. I spoke to council about that last year and working more on that project. And then
Specifically removing some of the hazardous sidewalk.
Yep.
Some of the trees that are left.
that are pushing the sidewalk up. And then the city water reservoir options setting, as we spoke earlier, we're working on that. So that's it for the public works projects for 2024. Any further questions?
I think I'll follow up. Finance Director Givens and I have talked about being more specific with CIP within our budget planning processes. So we've got some information list. It's drawn out of the budget a little bit more, so it's more recognizable and maybe more comprehensive and understandable rather than being embedded within each of the departments as well. So you'll be seeing more of this as we get through the year, particularly when we get through the budget formulation process and CIPs and throughout the city.
Yeah, typically before budget time, I'll give you a presentation on what the proposed 2025 budgeted projects are. So you folks can it'll be maybe some of these and new ones, right? So more to come on that. So you ready for the next topic?
If no one has any questions? All right. All right, so we'll move on. We have another item in Public Works Department information about general service engineer consultant contract.
Good evening, Council. Jay Harris, again, your Public Works Director. General Services Engineering, that we've been using a contract engineer to help us do, some small studies for us, cost estimates, some small projects, helping us with our yearly paving projects, sort of where to go. They were helping us with the pavement condition index model. They helped us with grant writing. Grant Osborne was our last one for the last 4 years and helped us significantly, especially on the wastewater side, receiving some significant grants for that system. They also have designed a few of our projects. They're working on the reclaimed water tank for us. They also did the well one to high school tank, a pipeline project for us. So they're an integral part. They supplant city staff with a company with knowledge and expertise that you have a team of civil engineers basically, and you have inspectors and you have construction management people that really, are seasoned. You have office staff, clerical staff. You could have a GIS people there, that know how that system works. Definitely AutoCAD experience. We don't have a lot of AutoCAD experience here at the city. So we've been utilizing general services engineering. Grant Osborne's contract was up at the end of the year. Staff is going to be putting out an RFP for the contractual services for that. We're looking at someone a couple of days a week here. It's a sort of senior engineer staff member. We want them actually here. Grant Osborne would remote in and all that. It's nice to have staff here at the city. As things come up, you can walk over to Aaron's cubicle. I'm standing in Aaron's cubicle a lot of time during the day, get a phone call, whatever. It's nice having staff here. So with that, we will be putting out this RFP. We're going to rate them, and then we're going to select a company, and then we have to come to you folks, to ratify our selection. So there'll be more to come on that once we get out the RFP and then go and score them all. Currently, we're also down the key engineering position, our city engineer, who serves in a lot of different roles. This here tonight, a lot of times the city engineer will run this presentation, not the public works director. I'm acting as a city engineer right now. I do that. I've done a lot of city engineering work. The public works director role is more of a manager. I need to be down at the wastewater treatment plant or the other plant up on the hill, or the maintenance division, making sure that we have a rock and salt and stuff for the snowstorm. And anyways, I'm the collaborator and I'm all in engineering right now. So I'm lucky that I have superintendents and staff at other facilities that are keeping this going, but I'm sort of visionary, right? So the city engineer position is vacant. They typically would take on, you can see how many projects we have. Well, Aaron is trying to keep these all going, right? With some of my help, and Brent Armstrong has been helping also, but the city engineer will typically, take 4 of those, that sort of thing, and take them on. They also lead the private development review element of our city, and that's our engineering standards, our intergov permitting system. We have a full-time inspector, senior inspector, Amy Anderson. They lead the stormwater compliance person, that's Kenny Oberg. And so that's a huge role. We've been out for what, a month and a half now, for the posting 2 months, something like that. We haven't received applications
For the city engineer.
for the city engineer.
So we actually try to be creative. We post it as a city engineer or a development review team. Supervisor.
A younger engineer.
Trying to see if we had somebody that didn't have their PE, maybe they have an EIT, they want to work underneath the engineer, they're more on the development review side of things than civil engineering, just to broaden our scope. See if we have the ability to bring somebody who really have that interest. Deputy Mayor Schmidt knows as well as the rest of us about the market for civil engineering at the state level. It's a difficult market right now. Our contract engineers are having trouble finding people to supplement their in-house staff as well.
You don't have expensive lucrative projects where we won't get interest either from the contracting community, so that's why I was going back to the 800,000, 1 million, $2 million projects. I mean, we gotta get over 10 to start getting interest from the consultant community, at least, you know, outside of our typical consulting firms that are already
Right.
kind of on a retainer and work for us, but
It's much more.
It's gonna be more
difficult to take on a
expensive.
$5 million project than a $500,000 project, right?
and unfortunately, this is just, it's gonna be more expensive.
Yeah.
Right, it's just more expensive doing this and, you know, we had an engineer, we had an associate engineer at one point. Saves a lot of, well, having that stamp in the building as well as useful, you know. but I just think of, the fights under construction as opposed to during the design phase and having an engineer in-house to help when you're designing things and. It saves a lot of pain once you're under contract.
As useful as a contract and design engineer is, you still have to check their work, right?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
We are still, you know, there's still checks and balances within that process. We wanna make sure we're getting a quality product, make sure it meets the scope that we're putting out. We can't assume that the work's gonna be done right the first time. So there's still some check and balances, much like there is for project inspection. We either contract that out, or we have their existing staff that are out watching them put those water lines in, watching the pavement go down, sidewalks, but make sure it's meeting the scope and it's meeting the intent of the project. So.
Who would be like checking in on the consultant? Who would be the liaison?
I mean, city engineer,
I guess I-
typically, but you're looking at the staff that's doing that.
And that's, yes, I'm bogging down is, you know, you just talked about how you're doing engineering, but you're still gonna be doing engineering, you work a consultant here. So you're gonna be reviewing all their invoices to ensure that that's accurate, right? And you making sure with the work that they're doing is on schedule and according to what we wanted. They're not on their own.
They are not.
Regardless of a third party, you know, engineering consultant, here, they'll be taking us to that, again, it's a third party. There is a bit of work to still be done.
It all depends on who you get too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could get people that aren't as qualified or experienced or as good. Having a staff member here is the ultimate desire, right?
Right.
But you can't hire up a bunch of people, then the projects die off and then you let them go. You know, we typically want to just try to keep an adequate level of staffing. And with the number of projects we have right now, we definitely could use a staff engineer. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And then still use the consulting engineers to be supplementing us.
We still have development review, you know, we still have projects moving forward.
I've taken
We
off.
have standards and code requirements that need to be addressed and updated at the same time too, and that's staff that perform those functions.
You mentioned a good point though, Jay, is if we have a slow year where capital construction comes to a halt, you know. If there are no projects to work on, you know, so we have that FTE in-house, you know, we're laying staff off again, right? We have those slow years, so. It's a necessary thing, I think, it's just. The resounding narrative is cheaper or more efficient, it's just government can't scale, so we have to get out the private sector to back us up and augment our workforce.
We certainly don't have the flexibility of larger state. Right, we have to realize that, and we have to utilize resources there. So I started here 30-some years ago. We had a city engineer at that point, we also had a contract engineer. Jerry Merced.
We use more.
Was here in-house several days a week, and I think we had contract engineers ever since, whether it's development review engineers that just handle all the review of any proposed development coming across the counter, or project management or capital project, it's been supplemented here for 30 some years.
Is this like a per diem contract where they get paid by the job, or is it just like a monthly thing you just pay? Okay,
Time
So,
and materials. is
no
such-
job and no pay.
And I think that,
It's
yeah,
easier to test.
exactly.
Easier to jettison a consultant if
Yes.
you run out of money.
Yeah.
It is.
We've been doing that with building inspection for years, you know, we've got in-house, we got
At
code
times.
pros.
Yeah, at times,
know.
right? The problem is you fall in line with their schedule, right? You might not be their priority. He's here 2 weeks, she, they are here 2 days a week, where they have 3 days a week, what becomes their priority, so you're kind of battling, for lack of a better word, their priorities with your priorities and trying to convey that on a daily basis, and
Because we lack a common development code in the UGA, we can't necessarily partner with any other agencies because they don't know our development code. And it's not efficient that way, so yeah, that's another problem.
So I think there is an opportunity, and you'll see this as I bring more projects forward. Candidly, there's 2 areas where we're really getting hammered, and that's the design piece, but it's also the construction management piece. As an example, the well one project, design was about 300,000. Construction managed is about 350,000. I think, and I'm not, you're the boss, there is some ability. I have a lot of construction management experience as well as lab experience and those kinds of things. And we have Amy, and there's talk of maybe potentially getting another one pending on another inspector. I think we could cut that 350 construction management out of it and take it in-house. But again, it's workload, it's all that kind of stuff. So I think there's potential there for sure. And just utilize, if indeed this trend of no PCEs continues, just utilize them to design these things and we'll get them constructed. It's kind of.
yeah, again, we want to be strategic, right?
Exactly.
We want to plan that accordingly, we want to
Yep.
be ahead of it. If we are bringing staff on for a project and don't have work for them later and
Right.
laying them up, that. You're not gonna hire anybody again, right? It was gonna come to the city, show up for every project and go away, the next down season.
So that's the reality with our budget right now. It is that volatile.
I mean, part of this conversation. Kind of tails into, some of the other staffing needs in it, right? We reduced the custodian.
Yeah.
We might be talking about engineering services, but darn it, when the bathrooms are clean, it's pretty nice to be here at work when the bathrooms are clean on a regular basis. We've reduced admin services director, and parks and facilities director positions too, so. That goes across, a lot of departments here in the city, we're getting through this, but these are conversations that you need to hear on a regular basis, because it's reality of what we're dealing with, and it has budgetary impacts. That you're gonna see moving down the road. I know that was addressed, going into this year, but I think you saw my Friday email about our insurance costs, being double what they were 2 years ago. A $500,000 increase in 2 years. That money's not made up anywhere else, right? We're continuing to erode some of the services that made up those costs, so it's just.
Manage your spending, Mark, come on.
It's an open conversation, we want to have more regularly with the council, because you need to understand it, you need to communicate with your constituency, you need to know what's going on, kind of upstairs, downstairs, in the rest of the room, so. We really want to take the opportunity as much as we can, so you understand, some of these constraints and some of these issues that we're dealing with every day.
Right, don't worry, the 650K from 2018 or whatever, 19, that's still sitting there, that's the other thing, we have to be able to portray the confidence, of whoever's granting us the money, that we're gonna pull the process off. And we exceeded, that we turned money in.
Gateway.
The Western Gateway was delayed. It took a year or two too long to get the design out, get it to bid and get it built. We went in for Olympic Highway North grant funds and it was denied because that project wasn't completed yet. So we ran into that.
Well, that was part of COVID too.
I mean,
But the trends there,
Yeah.
Mayor, the trends there, we have a lot of old grant money that, I can see.
the funding agency essentially doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
They gave you money, well, once it's spent.
If you are limited.
Well,
They're not gonna give you
They
more.
have given report too, right?
Right.
They have folks sitting in the legislature that are funding these programs at the same time, so.
Just looked at National Highway Construction Cost Index, it grew 54% in the last 4 years. Right, so cost escalation that 650K that we got, I guarantee you. You know, our estimated cost back then versus today, I mean, that's $900,000 today, right? We don't have the 300K.
I don't believe the 650 was the ask either. I believe it's just.
Well, I think we asked for 2
I
million.
think the ask was
You want to
250.
build round.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just design.
Yeah, here's 650. Okay, now what do we do with it, right? So it sits because you're almost in kind of decision paralysis, you know, does it make sense to design a roundabout? Does it make sense to put it into, you know, into the signal and then you decide not to do anything by not making a decision. Now we've lost that buying power.
And TBD fell off the radar with AWC, right? As a
Yeah,
priority.
it wasn't a priority.
So come 2026, about 385,000 in revenue a year for streets is gone, vaporizes. We don't see it
Well,
anymore.
we're hoping to
So
get back on a priority
big
list.
projects,
Close to
state capitals. How many, so you outlined what, roughly how many projects in a year can we handle today? 6, 7?
depending on the size of the scope, right?
And that's the other thing is that there's several big projects, there's several little projects, but there's also. At least from my perspective, there's also other projects, and this is just an example, DOH is coming down on us with regard to our tanks. And getting new vents in, they have to meet the new standard. Basically, we got $100,000 that we gotta figure out, get design work done, get all that, so there's a lot of that other stuff too, not just capital.
Yeah.
Other projects,
Maintenance projects.
police fencing areas, we're throwing all that in there together, so.
Yeah,
How much can I handle? I think we're at about 10 projects right now.
that's great. We have a project manager in Public Works that's taking on some of these other facility projects. We don't have that facility, right? We have a field supervisor that's in the guild that's, you know, cleaning HVAC systems and changing filters, things like that. And that's going to be a project manager, maybe like the uninterrupted power supply system here for 911 facilities too. We're stretching some people to the points that really, you know, get to the point where we have to be really careful when we make some mistakes. That are costly, so we have to kind, you know, we have to be, we have to be strategic, as I said. How many times tonight, I don't want to overstate it, but it's really important.
Yeah, agreed, and the other things are other projects such as studies and those kinds of things, such as the ADA transition plan, how to manage that too and get that going. So there's a lot, it's just a matter of prioritizing.
I don't know if we've, to answer your question, I don't know if we've kind of determined this, the level scope, whether it's number of projects or total value, right? We'll know, you know, in a few months when Aaron's sleeping under his desk and waking up, I think, to start looking, you know, but I don't know if that's gonna be the, that's gonna be the key or, but we need to be conscious of that, right? Because keep these people around.
And there's grant money available right now. We're not using, you know, great funds and TBD funds. We're using these for matching to great grant opportunities. I don't know how long, you know, the state of Washington is going to be, you know, keep good grant money around, but there's all sorts of cycles coming out all the
I
time.
don't know the time, I mean. But how that's distributed, yeah.
I mean, we just picked up the design for the backup chlorination at the main wastewater plant. We didn't get the full grant award, which was taking our slack-tight tank and making it into if the UV system goes offline, we can chlorinate the water before it goes into the bay, which opens up more shellfish areas. And so we got the design grant for that, and the timeline on that's a little quick. And so it just.
So or UV is redundant now though, so is that possible that could lose both at the same time?
You will be done.
UV will still be the primary system. The redundancy will be in a chlorine.
But we
system.
did double UVs since I've been here, we added UVs,
Maybe.
We are overdosing.
yes.
Yes, overdose of UV, I don't think we can, but we do have more dosage than is required. But it was a good thing because a couple of months ago, we lost a bank of them. And there was a part problem, and lucky we were able to get it back in within a couple of days. But it was good that we had a lot more dosing than we needed, because when we lost some of those lights, we obviously still met standard.
Grant will pay for design, to get it designed, and then we'll find some money to get it constructed.
And the slack tank, will that prevent it from overfilling? It's done that, what, once or twice, since that was built? Just a couple years ago, in the heavy rains, the slack tank,
That's for tidal flow.
Tidal,
When the
yeah.
tide is way out.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, or it's on,
Water,
or it's on an
that's
ebb,
the tide.
it's on an ebb, so it's not moving.
Yeah.
Put it out. and
Yeah.
The water's flowing, or it makes
So you
it,
don't want to pipe,
Well, we had a release.
not from the slack type.
right, I
From the
just believe
side.
that was the entire plant was open. Yeah. Yeah,
And those I projects, we haven't talked about I, but we have more bases to go do. Those are highly grant fundable. We're really trying to concentrate, I'm sorry, inflow and infiltration into the city sewer system. So you have a pipe underground and all the joints, you get infiltration into the joints. And so you're treating groundwater down the wastewater plant. If the pipe is tight line, you don't get that in. And then you have inflow, which is some pumps in people's
I think
houses.
for reference, the surcharge by Neiman Park, you know, the manholes, that was 99.
Okay.
So that's a lot of groundwater, last
Yeah.
storm going into the sewers. It comes at the bottom of the hill, all rushes downhill, off manholes, and it flows out into Neiman Park, you remember that?
Yeah.
You've been here a while, so yeah, when you tighten those pipes, you don't get that groundwater into it, you're just moving wastewater instead of that groundwater. Then you're surcharging areas, but also you're not treating all that water, not necessarily.
But it's
Yeah.
likely with an engineer bringing them on board, I'd probably start them on the basis 6A I project. And hand them a project and keep Aaron out of some of them. So which is you're spending money to save money, because you're not treating that stormwater, because it never got into the system.
We've done 4 or 5 basins.
Really successful too, compared to a lot of communities. I was surprised how much you cut down the I into the city sewers.
Some of the pipes actually encouraged it back in the day, because they wanted the groundwater to move. Right, the wastewater within the pipes, so either that or they're just old, right? But sometimes I was encouraged. because-
Draining swampy areas.
We had sewer lines through creeks in town, and sometimes they had big holes in them, right? And so you have creek water running into it. You find a lot of things, you start tampering the pipes.
We have houses built on top of creeks.
Yeah,
We.
So to put a pin in this,
Yeah.
an RFP will go out, will go out for this service before long. Like Jay said, you see. Contract for the service. That's the future.
All right,
Any question?
yeah, any questions?
Is there any thought into, in the future, making trucks go back down Park Street for railroad?
Yeah, that was conversation at the time we designed Park Street, that it was another almost $300,000 to add more asphalt. So it could be a truck section that's not built to handle trucks. And the budget didn't allow that for that particular project. That was pretty much a transportation benefit district funding, or because the road.
So it's our entire year's paving budget.
So it's.
Yeah, it took years with a paving budget, so we didn't add more asphalt section to it. Another consideration is the bridge over Goldsboro Creek at 7. That those trucks that's our bridge, and we don't want to have to replace that in the future because of overloading. So we kept the trucks back on. The council identified, that was never identified as a truck route. In our current municipal code, lists truck routes. How the truck started there, I'm not sure. Council never weighed in on the original decision of that.
The railroad and first. turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, it's.
Yeah.
I'll give you the truck.
It destroyed the road.
Yep.
So.
So SBI changed their entrance, from what I understand, all the trucks used to go in the main gate there. Now they come in that middle.
Simpson, yeah.
Yeah.
The main gate off the railroad and. Yeah, reading.
So it was more convenient for them to get.
The
it that
Mill
way.
Street now.
Mill Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we are on new discussion, so
I'd like to add something to discussion, if you don't mind. I want to talk about maybe weather response coming up the next few days. We're all aware there's some forecasts for some snow and some weather, and I know the crews have been working hard on it, and Jake could probably speak to that. We do have our critical routes map on our website. We'll be getting that out there, and communication specialists as well in the next day or so, and hopefully we get some more information. It seems like it's changing on a regular basis, but the crews are gearing up for this, getting plows ready, de-icer.
We have Wednesday, we're hooking up plows, we got gravel delivered already for the sanding. We go up and pick up a salt that we put down on the road, the county, we have an ILA with them, we reimburse them for the salt. And so normally what we'll do is before the event, we get the salt sprayed down on the road, because what happens is when it snows and the cars start packing it down, or if it's freezing rain, the salt helps one from sticking. So when our plow comes by, having that salt laying down there keeps a little bit of water sort of in there, doesn't freeze, and it comes off the road a lot easier for us. So there's some big benefits to getting that down. We're not like Michigan or something where the salt's going down, all winter long, right? We apply it a few times a year on the main routes. So we got that going on. And so primary routes are our goal. When depending on what forecast you look at, we can get Friday and Saturday combined, maybe 10 inches, right? A foot. And when the plow goes by, it blocks your driveway. If you're on one of those primary routes, you're gonna have a windrow of snow along your driveway. If we're not cleaning out individual driveways, we get complaints about that, but we purely don't have staff to go clean out every driveway. So the citizens need to go out there with the shovel and dig out the driveway, so if they wanna come in and out, that sort of thing. We look at the steep hills. We do close, what roads are, and we close the
next hard.
yeah.
But-
Conditions, and
But the main goal of the city is keep the roads, the arterial roads clear for ambulances and fire trucks. To get people to the hospital, and
Yep, and you get the first responders in.
we don't do railroad because we got those divots in the road, those reflectors that will pop them off. So that's,
Last year I spoke to you about that project is downtown, you have buttons on railroad and council okayed to take the buttons up.
Yeah.
And put down normal striping so we can come plow away the railroad when needed. Yeah.
Well, I haven't
Rubber
done that
bits or
yet.
carbide bits? Use rubber bits
no.
on your plow blades, on your mobile board?
Rubber, yeah, they have rubber on there, so.
Okay.
No steel. They need to be timed with the time you can strike.
Yeah. Just pre-treat, I'm a big fan of salt and pre-treat. And I'm not a big sand fan, because we spend a lot of time cleaning it up and it's in our drainage.
Yeah.
It's on the sidewalks and everything else,
It's
so.
important, there's the street sweepers, you'll see them out next week, we have 2 of them picking up the sand. And then if you get multiple events, it seems like we're chasing sand for a while.
Yeah,
So I agree, it does add
Dry
some
salt
traction
with
control.
pre-wet. Pre-wet the salt, keep it from bouncing into the shoulders, and get out there and pre-treat with the liquid.
We use liquid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, besides, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
You also introduced like the 1-tons with plows, which I thought was a good idea.
Yeah, I got that from my prior job, that the younger guys, the new operators don't like taking that huge 10-yard dump truck out there with a monster plow on it. The city where it's tight, there's cars, so we went with the 1-tons, and those have been a big hit. And we still need the bigger ones, I get that, but they serve a purpose, they're smaller plows, they get in and out more, and they got the salt on them too, so.
So total plows, dump truck plows. 2 or 3?
Three.
3 in the city.
Which is a lot for.
We don't always have 3 operators at the same time.
Okay, I came to a city twice as large, and when I took out over as public works director, we had no plows and we had one 20-year-old sander.
You're right, you don't necessarily always have to go.
So that's a, yes, so.
We have two people, that- right? We have the driver and we have this driver, yeah. So we don't have, you won't see three plows out all the
Thank
time.
you. That's where I was going to, because people are like, you have 3 plows, I only see 1, the other 2 are parked, and then we don't have everybody to drive.
You can drive with me.
Oh, yeah, we plow, and then, our guys determine when they need to plow. You might not see them out there when it's snowing super hard, right? They try to catch the gaps, they try to plan out their times a little better, right? So, they've got a lot of this. This city, for some reason, tends to get the flow off the Olympics or something. They get more snow here than you do in other cities. Cause I lived out in Oakville for a while, you get double the snow here than you would in Oakville.
Well, we went years without significant snow, and then we had snow for like 3 or 4 consecutive years.
Every year for the last.
No, about 4,
The
about the
one
last
event.
4.
The one event a year, right?
Yeah. You have an event
But
every year.
it was quiet for a few years, so.
Hopefully people are preparing for that, they're stocking up.
Seem to be,
They
I
don't
mean,
need-
people are talking through.
Good, they don't need to get out as much, I mean, people that stay off the roads make it much easier for us to maintain the roads.
Please have people stay home if possible, stock up now, we know something's coming, just stay in your house.
I'm with you with the stay home narrative. Our number 1 revenue generator is sales tax in the
That's right.
city. We need to keep downtown open, right? We need to keep the arterials open and we need to work to make sure
I
people
want
get to
to
work, right? I get the stay home stuff, but
You need to get people there, right?
They,
Gotta-
downtown people can also walk to the store.
Get those traction things for your shoes, Costco, I don't know if they have some. Yeah, the crampons, they're little rubber things that go on your boots, whatever. I'm not kidding you, it keeps you from slipping and turning your knee. I mean, it just takes a split second and all of a sudden you're on the couch with a knee problem, right? So.
I can fall anywhere.
If there's a need for any delays or closures, anything that, we'll communicate through our social media platforms, city's website as well.
So,
That information will be out as soon as we make those decisions. We don't have to.
Okay, council have any new items for discussion that let's talk to staff about? Nope. Then we will call this meeting at 7:35 PM.